You lot, raise your glasses. This one's for Paul, Phil, and the Paranormal Soul Brother! Paul's got a torch and a tradies belt. Swears that he felt a cold hand on his bum. Phil's in the kitchen with a GoPro helmet, shouting, "Come at me, spirit, you cowardly scum!" Soul Brothers burning the bargain bin sage, reading vibes like a busted old gauge. Ghost wankers, ghost wankers, three brave idiots and a busted van. Ghost wankers, ghost wankers, chasing bad vibes round the caravan. If your house feels weird and your dog won't stay, they'll rock up drunk and scare it away. Ghost wankers, ghost wankers, best worst hunters in the whole damn land. Oh, yeah.
And tonight we have Thomas Sciacca. Am I saying that right?
Close enough.
Close enough.
Sciacca or Sciacca. If you do it the Sicilian way, it's Sciacca. You're close enough.
All right.
Sicilian, my son is half
It's fine.
Sicilian. All right.
Okay, cool. Okay, and Thomas is with Astral Comics Publications, LLC. He is the publisher over there. I think he created this character. It's called Astron Star Soldier.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And
yes. Among others, yes.
do you do your own artwork?
Yes. Let me give you a little background. So I went to high school with George Perez. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yes, I do. I'm a comic book geek. Yeah.
Okay. So both from the Bronx, Cardinal Hayes High School. I met George in 1968. 69. We were in freshman year, and we were like the two comic book geeks in the school of 3,000 students, and we became famous in the school for doing our comics and blah blah blah. And I introduced George to comic fandom with Star-Studded Comics. Took him to his first Comic-Con in 1971 at the Statler Hilton. It was known as the Comic Art Convention. Introduced him to Neil Adams, who I knew because Neil lived in the neighborhood. Neil is from the Bronx. He never wanted to admit it. But
okay, wait, hold on. You know Neil Adams?
Oh, I work with Neil. I see Neil in his underwear.
Wow. Okay. George Perez,
Neil Adams,
Bill Zandine, Steve Hercules. Hercules knows.
Hercules, I know. I've been on his page for years.
Well, Neil Adams and George Perez, he's talking about some big guys. They're big.
I became Stan Lee's assistant when I first started working at Marvel in '74. At the same time George started.
Wow.
And then I worked later on. I ran the 1976 Marvel Con for Stan. I was like 20 years old or something. I don't know why he had me do it, but Stan's from the Bronx too, so he got along. I got along with him. And then I ended up working. Then I ended up getting recruited by Vince Colletta, who became the art director at DC in '76. And I went over to DC. I worked on the Superman movie. I was a consultant on that. Later on, I worked on a couple of James Bond films. In the meantime, we first did it in 1970. I penciled it and George inked it, our own little, comic book that we did in class, whatever. Then I revived it in '77 while I was at DC, and it was 75 Rockefeller Plaza is where DC was. That was the headquarters of Warner Communications, now Warner Brothers. In the basement, they had a printing press. They printed all their posters and promotional stuff, whatever. I would go down there because I was the mailroom, and I became friendly with the manager. His name is Frank Scorsese, Martin's older brother. So one day I said to him, "Hey, Frank, could you print a comic book for me?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." He goes, well, how much? Give me $300 cash, and I'll do it under the table. So they printed 10,000 copies of my Astro comics at the Warner Brothers printing press and under the table. And then Phil Suling, who was one of the creators of the direct market, he was just starting it then. He took most of the books along with Bud Plant, and then they distributed it on newsstands and comic book stores. So at the same time I was working at DC, I was competing with them with this particular book. In fact, Steve Borak was one of the founders of, I guess, CGC or something, whatever. When he told me, oh, that was one of the first comics I ever bought. And then later on, I did Galaxia with Rich Buckler, and then Star Blazer magazines, and then I got out of the business. I worked for Variety, worked on a couple of James Bond films, did some writing on Octopussy for the pre-title sequence that they used, part of it, and the rest they used in Tomorrow Never Dies. Then got out of the business for a while because I got married, blah, 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 blah. And then, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, I started getting back in doing this stuff and completing my opus of Astro Comics.
Oh, yeah.
This is the graphic novel there. And this is one of the reprint that I did in
Oh, cool.
2015 of the first one, and then because I'm working with Ray Field's Bronx Heroes, so he's got a book called World Without Superheroes, so he's doing a special that has Astron as the guest star. It's coming out soon. And then next month, French magazine called Mystic will start reprinting my Astron stories and doing new stories with the character in France. So, and then I've got a Kickstarter I'm working on for another character, Lana of the Lost Land, and then volume 2 of the Astron, which is completed and whatever. And I'm looking for a new apartment. So aside from that, that's about it. So that's the short form. So, but yeah, I know everybody because I started at Marvel in '74. So I know everybody. So it's and I lent Frank Miller $40 when he was broke in '76. I was working at DC.
Frank
He was
Miller.
whining. Frank Miller, yeah, that guy.
Yep.
Because he never had any money, so he was whining that he could. I said, what? I said, why don't you come up to DC? I'll get you an interview with Vinnie Coletta. So he came up, got introduced to Joe Orlando, started getting work. Then after that, he became a superstar, and he still owes me money. Aside from that, it doesn't matter.
Thomas,
Then I discovered Trevor Von Eden too. So that's another thing.
Thomas is a legend. Thomas is a legend, and he worked with legends. So that is,
I don't know about a legend.
That's absolutely amazing.
Well, if you live long enough, you become a legend, I guess.
Yeah.
I just in the right place at the right time. Just the '70s was that time. No one cared about comic books. Everything was in New York. So if you walked around the corner, you would bump into a comic book artist. So, there weren't that many people in the business and no one cared. So I literally walked into Marvel one day and got a gig. I was going to Lehman College in the Bronx. I just walked in because someone said, oh, they need some writers. Archie Goodwin needs some writers at the Black and White magazines. It was doing Deadly Hands of Kung Fu and Planet of the Apes. So I just walked in and said, yeah, I want to see Archie Goodwin. So, I went in there, gave him a couple of proposals. He said, well, write him. If I like him, I'll buy him. A week later, I handed it him. He bought him, and then I just started hanging out there. Couldn't do that today.
Hey, Thomas, how did you learn how to draw so well?
Just copying people, hanging out with George. Let me tell you, George, when we were teenagers, was already almost fully formed. Okay, I think I've reprinted some stuff we did in high school, the Battalion, but his early stuff, he already was like an unbelievable artist when we were like 15 years old. So I learned a lot from him. But then then just kind of like when I was starting at Marvel, even though I was doing mostly writing, I was helping out Rich Buckler, and then they had the bullpen, which was across the hall,
Yeah, yeah.
which was a whole bunch of just rooms with artists' desks, and all the artists would just hang out there and draw. So I got to hang out with Billy Graham. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, we
Oh,
know
yeah.
Billy Graham is
The
a lot of posters.
the Black Panther guy, who was also an
Okay.
actor and hell of a nice guy. So I would like, you know, walk in and it's kind of like, hey, do some backgrounds here, you know. So I'd be, oh, okay, fine, do some backgrounds. And Buckler was there, so I just kind of just hung out with these guys and just kind of absorbed everything these guys had to say, you know. And then there were other guys there, Ron Wilson, Keith Pollard, you know, Herb. I mean, all these guys were there. I mean, the old guys, Mike Esposito. Everybody was very friendly at Marvel. So they all were.
Oh, did
no
you know
attitude.
Steve? Did you know Steve Skeets?
I wasn't. I met him. I wasn't, you know, pals with him, but yeah, he was around. I met most of these guys, but yeah, but I was more friends with the artists, really, not so much. I mean, the writers, like Tony Isabella, I'm friends with. I mean, certain people who kind of were in the office all the time. A lot of these guys are freelance, so they would just pop in and out. But I met him, yeah.
Yeah, Steve Skeets was the assistant to Stan Lee for a while. And believe it or not, for 10 years, Steve Skeets was the editor of my newsletter, the People's Comic Book Newsletter. And
Cool.
guess what? Back in the 80s, when I was producing this newsletter, I saw your name in there. So
Really?
somehow I connected to you way back in the 80s, and I didn't even realize it.
I didn't even realize my name was in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he
man.
still alive? Is Steve still alive?
No, Steve died.
Oh,
Yeah. You can go to his Wikipedia, and it talks about all his accomplishments and everything else. And
yeah, I remember he did a lot at Charlton too initially.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, wow, yeah. So too many guys that, you know, we loved are gone. It's just like, you know, but yeah. No, he was one of, yeah, I was doing stuff for Stan, like kind of like freelance. So I would be in the office because I was still going to college. So I would just come in after school or classes, and you know, I'd be there. Tom, do this for me, do that for me, you know. Yeah, okay, you know. And then but Stan was very nice. So I mean, I know a lot of people complain, oh, Stan's not. He was very nice to me. I was a kid, you know, and I don't know if he knew I was from the Bronx, but you know, I bet he knew I was from the Bronx. So he's from 179th Street. There's another guy that didn't want to admit he's from the Bronx. So when he was a teenager or whatever, then he moved to Manhattan. But I was there. They named a street for him in the Bronx. So if you go to like News 11 or NBC and go Stan Lee street signing, that I ended up talking about him because a friend of mine, my friend Ray, knew the council member. So we went down there and I was just going there to watch. All of a sudden, the guy goes, oh, here's Tom. Here, come talk about Stan, working with Stan. And there's like, you know, 5 network cameras there. It's like, huh? I was like, oh, okay. So I did like 10 minutes, you know, so you can see it on. You know. But Stan was from the Bronx. A lot of these guys were from the Bronx. Steve, Bob Kane, and Bill Finger, Grand Concourse. Okay, the Bronx is the original Gotham City. So if we go back when they named the street sign by Poe Park in the Bronx after Bill Finger, they talked about it. The councilman, who's now a congressman, talked about Bill Finger and Bob, and they basically sat on the park bench at Poe Park on the Grand Concourse where Edgar Allan Poe's house is there.
Mm-hmm.
So Edgar Allan Poe lived in the Bronx for a while too, wrote The Raven there.
Damn.
And they created Batman sitting on park bench there. So there's a sign, Bill Finger Way or whatever. You know, when they had the ceremony, just an aside, it was a very cold day in January. So I went up there, and there were other Batman fans, including Art Clues and his wife, who are, he has the vintage Dark Knight. He's a huge, one of the biggest collectors in the country, and Athena Finger, who's we're friends with, who's Bill's granddaughter. So we were all there, and surprisingly enough, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, showed up. Right? He just showed up because he's a fan. He lives in Manhattan, and I said, "Wow." I said, "Wow, you're here." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I wanted to come here and pay respects." He wasn't it wasn't any big deal. He just hung out with us like another fan. And he signed some autographs, but he was like, he goes, "Yeah, my grandmother used to live up here in the Bronx. I know the D train, so I just jumped on the D train, got off of Fordham Road, and here I am." So we were hanging around with Batman himself at this thing. There were a couple hundred people there. And he was a really cool guy. I had met him years ago when he was starting out at a party with some other actors. So very nice guy. But I think it was really cool that here's a guy who could say, "Well, I'm Batman." And he's just like a regular guy. He's like, "Hey, I'm a fan." Yeah, I'm Batman, but I'm a fan of it too. So there's a lot of nice people in the business. But a lot of the old guys from back in the day, they were just regular. They had no attitude because it was a friggin' job. This is like a commercial art job. It's like, I'm not a star. Talk to her, like Steve Ditko or whatever, who I knew, Kirby, any of these guys. It was just a friggin' job.
You knew Jack Kirby? You knew Jack Kirby?
Yes, slightly. I had met him a few times when he came to Marvel, when we did the convention and some of the other conventions. But to be honest, most of the other guys I would talk to, whatever, Kirby, it was like I was like frozen, because it's like standing in the presence of God.
I believe it.
So I was like, okay, can you see me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, no, because it blanked out for a second. So I'm thinking now, like, shit, I should have asked him to do a sketch or something, But you're working, and you kind of want to be professional. So it's like if you're working at an auto dealership, you go, "Hey, boss, can you sign an autograph for me?" It's like, you don't do that, right? So it's like, all these guys, it's like they don't ask them to do sketches and shit, maybe now, but back then it's like, it's a job. You're working with people. So, but Kirby was kind of like a very nice guy, but it's like it's God. What can I say? The only other people that I was like dumbfounded with when I met Siegel and Schuster, they came up to DC around the time of the Superman movie, and they were I couldn't talk to them. I was just watching, like, oh my God, these are the guys that created Superman. Like, wow. So that's it. Everyone else I talked to, but Wally Wood, whatever. But
may I interject here a second, Paul?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of my of course, I was introduced to Batman and Superman in DC, but the era that kind of electrified me was, I guess, sort of between the original Marvel wave of superheroes, who goes way back before they were Marvel, and the more recent ones when they were doing the monster comics. And I was introduced to Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, Journey into Mystery. My God, I would venture across Woodward Avenue, that busy thoroughfare, to get those comic books from the one place where you could get them in the Detroit area, in that area. And man, I was just that my first issue of the Fantastic Four was number 9 off the shelves when I discovered them, and I was just blown away by the artwork and the storytelling and so forth, and I was absolutely hooked. Brings back great memories.
And
were you? Because I asked, were you friends with all the Detroit guys like Rich Buckler and Ron Wilson and Keith Pollard and Milgram?
I'm afraid not. I was just a kid reading comic books with my mouth open and
Okay.
just blown away by the. And you know, I have to one other short aside. In 1977, I dug out a stack of my old comic books. Now, I hadn't taken care of them. They weren't in little plastic baggies. They were all beat up. But I had in that stack, I had the third issue of Spider-Man, where he
Ah,
fights the Sandman. I had the
Uh,
several issues of the early Fantastic Four, and I had the first appearance of Iron Man in Tales of Suspense. And I took it
ah.
to this little tiny convention in Farmington Hills in the Detroit area, and I made $450 in 1977 dollars. And I was stuffing these bills in my pockets to where they wouldn't fit. And when I left the building, I was looking over my shoulder, hoping I wasn't going to be any of this was going to be stolen from me. But and then in later years, I had another resurgence in my interest in comic books when I was in the Navy, kind of early mid '80s. You know, I was a great novel reader, but it was like in the military, you're so interrupted here and there that I got back into the comic books again, and there was this great. I served in Rotten Groton, Connecticut, and we had a shipyard period up in Portsmouth. And in between was this phenomenal comic book store in Boston. And we would stop there and buy the new comic books. This was a period of time when the New Mutants were starting, but they also had a section where you could buy the older comic books. And I would walk out of there without any money afterwards. So that was my comic books were so easy to, you know, they were shorter to read. It took up less time. So when you were so busy with all your other stuff in the military, you could still read some good comic books. So that's
Were you a
that was
submariner?
my resurgence.
Were you into submarines?
I started on a fast attack submarine in the early mid '80s, the USS Billfish.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Congratulations on your service.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Jack, too.
and oh, Hercules, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, for bringing back memories. I spent my earliest years in the Bronx. I went to the Bronx High School of Science.
Oh, okay.
I used to go to Phil Souling's conventions, and then I used to vend at Phil Souling's conventions. I had, as a teenager, like a comic book and card business that I set up with my cousin. And when my wife and I were living in Pennsylvania for around a decade, our neighbor was Carol Suling, who'd been married to.
Carol, yes, his original wife.
Yes, she came up with Sheena the She Devils. So
Yes, yes. And then of course he had his girlfriend later, Johnny, but who was very nice. But I probably ran into you at one of these conventions, or we walked past each other or whatever, you know.
and I
We were
met
there at the same time.
you, and yeah, I was thinking our paths crossed. And when you said that you're not getting older, you're becoming a legend, I have a T-shirt that says that. So
And I don't consider myself a legend, trust me. But I've done shit, you know. People keep telling me
you've
I've
done
done shit.
done
People
legend.
keep telling me to write a book. I say, yeah, one of these days. I'm waiting for a few more people to die before I start writing a book, you know. I have too many stories about different people, but that's besides the point. But Phil was a great guy. I don't know
Yeah,
if you knew him, but he was a great guy, and he died way too soon. But he basically, what everybody is, this business, the whole direct market or whatever, he invented it. And the whole thing with the conventions, he invented it. So all this stuff that's going on, there should be like a plaque for him. You know, I mean, he's basically forgotten except for older people. But the New York Comic Con, all this stuff, you know, and he did it before San Diego too. So
Hey, hey, Thomas, I have to stop you. We're getting close to the mark. We got about 1 minute and 30 seconds. So what we're going to do, we're going to be shut down by Zoom, and we're going to take a 10-minute break, and you'll get a second link. Everybody will get a second link, and we'll get back on and get this story going again.
okay, all right. So that's in like 10 minutes or so.
Well, we got about 1 minute and 14 seconds. So Go ahead and keep on telling us a few things if you want to.
I don't know. I'd like to hear from some other people. It's just like,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I want to hear from these other guys.
Well, here's something to Steve Ward. Fantastic Four #4. George R. Martin was a letter hack and wrote a letter in there and got it published.
Wow.
George R. Martin was Fire and Ice, Game of Thrones.
Of course.
And I'm a letter hack. So
You're a letter
hack. Letter hack Wikipedia, you'll see my name in there with George R. Martin.
Very
and
good.
George R. Martin also, some of the earliest things he wrote was in one of the early comic book fanzines, which did comic books, Star-Studded Comics. If you look that up, if you know about that, that was.
Oh yeah,
they did. I mean, Alan Weiss and Buckler and a ton of other people started in that. The Texas Trio, Buddy Saunders.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and pass this on over to Hercules because I don't think Hercules was finished talking to Thomas. Hercules?
I'd like to learn more about your character Astron. You showed a graphic novel. Is the graphic novel still available?
Yeah. I have a second edition. What it is haven't set up the website properly yet. So I'm selling through eBay. So you can go and get it on eBay. Just go Astron Star Soldier. And I'm selling it for $25. There's a guy that's selling an autographed copy for $39. Don't buy his, because he's someone I sold it to and he's reselling it. So I've got it on there on eBay. But in any case, so what it is, Astron is, I don't know if you can see what he looks like, but he's, as we originally did with George in 1970, basically the same character, who originally was called Astro Man, and then we changed it to Astron later on. So he's an Earth astronaut, James Hunt, who is in deep space, and he collides with a alien spacecraft. The two characters, it's a huge nuclear explosion. The two characters merge into one. So Astron gets the memories and the spirit of the Earthman James Hunt. And in the original book, I had the little. They talk to each other, and the little head is floating.
Mm-hmm.
So that came out in '76. And if it sounds like Firestorm a bit, it's because when I came out with the book in '77, Jerry Conway was an editor at DC. So in my misspent youth working at DC, I said, oh, well, maybe they'll hire me as an artist, writer, if I do this and hand it out. So I gave a copy to everybody in the editorial staff, including Jerry. And then the next year, Firestorm came out. I'm looking at it, and it's like, Firestorm resembles a bit like Astron. And I'm saying, oh, two characters joined together in nuclear explosion. Oh, and okay, fine. And I was working there, and it was like, oh, okay, fine. It's like, yeah, so everyone borrows from everybody else. Fine. And then the thing didn't last more than 10 issues, and it was like, I forgot about it. And went on and did it with Rich Buckler and Galaxia, and we were supposed to continue Galaxia with Red Circle Comics, and it was advertised in the Red Circle Comics as Galaxia 2, but then Archie backed out of publishing it. So that original story that I did for #2 is kind of lost. I'm not sure if somebody has it. I don't know if it's Buckler's family or what, because one of the other stories that was for that issue popped up on an auction site last year, along with some fan art. So I have to contact Rich's son and see if he has it, and if he can just give me like scans of the original story. I ended up redrawing it for the graphic novel, but I had the original layouts, but I changed the story up a bit. So in any case, so Astron is two characters, joined into one. He's a star soldier. He's from the planet Zena, and Zena's been taken over by the evil Shadar Empire, and they're kind of like space Nazis. The Zenans are kind of like, the Jewish people, and so now he is as the story progresses, he's joined up with another star soldier, a woman that he was formerly involved with, and they're gathering up forces to free Zena. There's other things going on that's going to go on where there's a battle on Earth with some robots and other stuff, but that'll be in volume 2. But basically, that's the story of Astron. So he's been around for 50 years, I guess. I've been playing around with him, so and he's being reprinted in France now. So, and I'm looking for an agent to possibly do other stuff, reprints in other countries, maybe. So movie, TV rights, whatever. So there's some interest in it. So we'll see what happens.
I wish you
So,
will the French comics or the other languages that the comics are being released in be also translated into English?
well, what it is they're translating my stuff into French.
Oh, okay.
So they're reprinting my stories. There is going to be a 5-page story that they did separately, kind of redoing the origin and updating it. So that's going to be in French. I probably will eventually reprint those stories, but it's basically just it's very well drawn. I mean, the guy his name is Rodell, who's from the Philippines. Fabulous job of the artwork. So the book is called Mystic, and it should be coming out in May. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to get it here because of all the nonsense with the post office now and getting stuff from other countries. So I don't know if you'd even be able to order it from overseas. I have no idea. So it's up in the air, but it's being published in France. So that's the story with that.
Thomas, what do you think about AI generated artwork in comic books?
It's something my friend Ray and I have been playing with it. I've been posting stuff like videos and stuff and other things.
Good man.
It's interesting. It's ultimately, I think AI is going to be a tool like Photoshop is. Like, let's say, so instead of using swipes, everyone knows what swipes are, right? So we used to cut pictures out of magazines and then end up using Google. So what I've done is some drawing. I've just gone to the AI and say, give me let's say a Wonder Woman punching through a wall or something.
Right.
Did everybody freeze up?
Yeah, we froze just for a sec.
Okay,
No,
Thomas.
he's still frozen.
Yeah.
Frozen.
It's his
That's
connection.
good. That's good where you're going, Paul. You know, something that people our viewers could talk about, AI versus artists, because he likes it, but the other artists didn't really like it. That'll be good for the audience to debate. You know.
Oh yeah.
I like the question you just asked him.
Yeah.
Thomas is like an image frozen on a comic book page.
You
We'll
know
have
what I
to
want to
decide
ask him?
what superhero is he?
He's freeze on. Hey, listen, I want to ask that gentleman if he could do like a little basic sketch on air for his fans. You know, people, that might, if we can get like a tiny sketch of maybe the ship or something and explain that to our audience, they would love it.
Yeah, ask him.
I'm gonna ask him.
Yeah.
I also want to know like some things like his lowest points in the industry. How because he had Stan Lee. Man, to be around those people, we should be asking more questions like how they really were and stuff. Because that guy's the only. We can't ask nobody else, man.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I think he's the second person that was part of the Marvel bullpen.
Wow, man, that's incredible, man. This dude is like you say, heavyweight. I mean, those have shaped the minds of at least a few billion people. I mean, by now, right? I mean, you would have to say Superman, I mean, that's and going between DC and Marvel. I mean, that's like him being part of Motown when Smokey and all them were
Oh
hanging
yeah,
around. You just know everybody,
yeah.
Right.
Tears of a Clown
okay.
when no one's around.
Can you imagine if Stan Lee was an actual like psycho? Everybody, because he always
That's what
comes
we
off
should
as
ask
like the
him. We should
nicest
ask
guy
him.
in
He
the
said,
world.
"Yeah, you should
If
ask him,
if
Phil."
if in reality it was like the complete opposite, he was just a madman. He did horrible things to people.
What was he really like?
Yeah,
I grew up on the fringes of Motown,
Oh wow. Okay,
near
Steve.
the infamous 8 Mile Road. But I never
Okay.
had any street cred. I want that clear.
Detroit, huh?
is that where you started rapping, Steve?
Yeah, right.
Hey, did we lose Thomas for good or what?
I don't know.
He's on.
He's in the ether of the AI.
He's Samsung, and we have video and audio, but
He might
I
have
keep
to
losing him. I think he's got a
ask
bad
Gemini
connection.
to help him.
Oh, doggone it. Hey,
Unfortunate, because he was in the middle of answering a good question.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then Paranormal
Hello?
Soul Brother was going to ask him to do a little sketch.
Something tiny, easy, and something to do. Just it's almost like his signature. Nobody else can get that. We should get it.
Hey, well, while we're waiting for him, let me tell you guys a little story. Okay. Jim Morrison of the Doors. Okay. Jim Morrison, I went to his gravesite in Paris. The music, the Doors is fantastic. This one lady came up to me and told me that Jim Morrison appeared in her living room and told her how to conduct her life. And I said, man, this is bullshit. Well, come to find out, Rolling Stone magazine put out an article where they said that certain people have seen Jim Morrison's ghost. Have you guys heard about that?
Jim Morrison, life coach? No, I haven't heard that one.
That's funny as hell, Phil. Hey, vaguely, but that's like a Willie Strieber type of thing where sometimes they come how they want to you. I mean, who knows if it's him or if it's, just a communication thing, whatever.
Yeah, when that girl told me about that, I just thought it was just a lot of bullshit. But then I'm reading an article out of Rolling Stone magazine where several people have claimed they've seen the ghost of Jim Morrison, which blows me away. So was that girl lying? It doesn't seem like it.
Wait a minute. I am the Lizard King. I want you to diversify your portfolio.
Hey, Phil, you remind me of one time this lady called in Art Bill, and she was talking about that she was up in Oregon, and that she had a reptilian encounter, and that like he was real sexual, and like he basically had her as a sex slave. And so the guy, a guy called, and he said, "Yeah, man." He said basically she just was in Oregon, and she met a lumberjack, and she eloped with him for about a week or something. The guy didn't even believe her story, but she was on Art Bill saying that she had got kidnapped by a reptilian for like a week.
Wow.
That lumberjack must have really known how to lay it down.
They got all kind of jokes, but the
Okay,
guy, huh?
No. I'm going to send Thomas the link again. So I don't.
He's on. He's on right now. He's if you can see the thing that Samsung SM A166UI. That's him. But
we just got. We'll let him keep pressing. He'll get the right buttons, or the reception. It could be a number of things.
Yeah, it's his connection. I think it's his internet connection.
Okay.
He said he's looking for a new apartment, man. He probably get a better connection too.
Yeah.
You know how that is. When you with the mix up of dishes, everybody's like, oh, because like when I'm in the city, it's like, man, everybody's stuff is getting crossed.
Yeah.
Hey, wouldn't it be cool? We can go back in time and be part of the Marvel bullpen. Wouldn't that be cool?
I think I'd rather go back to 1971 or 72 when Paul McCartney and Wings started, and then his half of the band basically walked away from him, and it was just him, Linda, and one other guy heading to South Africa to record, and he needed a drummer and a bass player. I would have loved to just jump in there. Hey, I'll help you out.
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
You need somebody to hold a beat down. I think I can help.
I think I got that for you. You know the thing you bring up a good point though, as far as members walking away. When I was thinking about Tom, it's kind of like music or anything else. Like you start out not really thinking you're gonna be rich, but you have big dreams. And he's had his career now where he can see who made it, who didn't, who died, who like does it really even matter at this point? You know, at this point, it's like you really have your art to hold on. You don't have anything else but the integrity of, you know, you as an artist, you know.
My grandfather grew up in the Bronx, and I've gone up there, you know, as a kid to see his sisters, and we'd have family dinners up there. But I had no idea that Edgar Allan Poe had anything at all to do with the Bronx.
Yes,
I know that's crazy.
his house is still there, and there's a park around his house. And not that far away, there's a house from the colonial era too that's preserved.
Really, I always thought it was like, isn't he famous for Maryland or something?
Maybe, but he did live
Or
in
Baltimore. At Baltimore, isn't Baltimore his don't they claim him?
He lived in the Bronx too for a while.
It did. Wow. It's funny because as a little kid reading his stuff, I always pictured him as being English, you know, and then I found out, I'm like, wow, I mean, he's American, he's Baltimore. And now I'm finding out Bronx. Wow.
He also helped expose what they called the Great Moon Hoax. About the 1820s, there was a New York newspaper that was starting up, and they started with these. There were 6 bogus articles about some astronomer in at south of at the tip of South America had this phenomenal telescope, and they could see all these images of things that were going on the moon, like winged orangutans and these giant cities or whatever. Well, people were buying it for about 6 different issues, and it was Edgar Allan Poe was one of the ones that spoke up and said, "This is nonsense." But it's there's a couple books out there about the Great Moon Hoax and about how people kind of sucked it in for a period of weeks.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's
I always
awesome.
thought it was funny going up to visit my grandfather's sisters. Is that on the Cross Bronx Expressway? If you looked over to one side, it was cute little houses with manicured lawns and little rose, you know, flowers and white picket fences. And on the other side, it was like, you know, burnt out buildings and like Fort Apache, the Bronx type thing. And it was just a freeway that divided the two. It was like one side looked like a war zone, and the other side looked like this pretty little neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But that was the 80s. I don't know what it looks like now. I haven't been up there in years.
Last time I went to visit the Bronx, somebody shot at me. So that was the last time I went there.
So you haven't been there for a long time, right? You haven't been back in the.
I hadn't been there for a while, so I figured let me go visit the old neighborhood, see who's still there. Somebody took a shot at me, so it's like,
Oh my God!
I think I'm not that curious.
Don't come back.
So everybody here's been to the Bronx except me and Zandine.
Except me.
No, I have not.
But you know, for Phil and Hercules, I got a question, and P, you could come in on this. Do you think that people prefer AI, human assisted artistry, or do they prefer humans being assisted? Do they prefer AI being assisted by humans, or do they prefer humans being assisted by AI when it comes to artwork? What do you think?
I think. Go ahead, Herc.
Personally, I think it's a tool, and that eventually it can be used as a tool, and just as Thomas said, like other programs that can be incorporated into what we're doing. But right now, I know a lot of creative people, artistic people who hate the idea, and the text by the AI is clearly stolen from all over the internet, and it has access to the entire internet. So a lot of people are recognizing reflections of their own artwork in questions that they're answering, or or things that they've written and questions that they're asking. So it'll take a while to sort all that out.
Hey,
Yeah.
my artist friends are hating me because if you go on my Facebook timeline, you're going to see nothing but AI
Yeah,
artwork.
There's some good stuff too.
yeah. To answer Zandine's question, because Zandine asked a specific question, and it was almost I don't think you're going to be able to tell the difference, Zandine, because you asked whether it was AI being assisted by
Human
humans or
assisted or
humans
human
being
assisted
assisted
by
by
AI.
AI.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost like, the difference between a liger and a tigon. The
Good,
difference
good
is
analogy.
the size of the cat, really. Otherwise, it's still just a big cat. You're not going to be able to tell
Wow.
the difference when it comes to that thing. Me personally, when it comes down to it, I think there's always going to be the desire to have something that's handmade, that's human made, that's handcrafted, whether it be a fine instrument, a painting, a piece of furniture, a piece of machinery. It's something that's actually made by hand by a human being is always going to be much more desirable because it's going to take longer, and there's that craftsmanship, that artisan, type thing. It's always going to be more valuable.
I
On
think
the
you're
other
right.
hand, it's going to be really hard to tell the difference the further and further we get into this because AI is that good. And like you said, the further we get along with the higher IQ of AI, it's going to dwarf us
Oh yeah, yeah.
intellectually. And capability wise, it's going to end up dwarfing us because we already see what machinery has been able to do for centuries now. Can you imagine when you couple the two together? You couple advanced machinery along with super advanced intelligence level. Get ready to go to Mars. Get ready for the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the leap that maybe mankind has been waiting for to conquer the stars, to conquer the solar system.
And wait for super AI.
Well, I mean, the guy just
Yeah.
cured his dog with Chat GPT and made a cancer cure for his dog. He said, "F it." With a little, he vibe coded it. He didn't use code. He talked it with his mouth. So, I mean, to the stars. Whoa.
What was the cure?
It was an mRNA type, like the way the vaccine was delivered. He used that type of technology, from what I read. And
What's funny is a lot of humans are treating their own cancer with dog wormer that's been over the counter
okay,
available since the 50s.
I've been hearing about that. Yeah, I didn't see that, and I didn't end up reading the whole thing. It was like my cyber letter, but
Yeah.
I was moved at the guy because you have family members of different people
yeah.
dealing with the same thing, and
Yeah.
you're like, wow. Because I asked ChatGPT, I said, hey, do you think that this year will bring more homemade cures? And it was like, well, I don't think so because and I was like, I don't know if because
You,
the way you can vibe these things already, the way you can come up with these,
well, you
unless they
bring
put a limiter.
here's a great topic that you're just touching into, and here's the ultimate question for it. With advanced AI, like Paul just touched on right there, in a 500 IQ, a 1500 IQ, a 5000 IQ, won't AI be able to cure cancer? Isn't that the next step?
It already you know what? You bring up a thing. It's already ChatGPT 5.5 should be okay. My calculations, if they say ChatGPT 6 would be 1500 IQ, then what do you think 5.5 is? Only 100 IQ, only 200? Listen, it already knows. They got the limiter on those. And so I could tell you right now, just from vibing with, say, Gemini 2.5 to even 3.1, the human reasoning that they try to stress now, the new models, every day they're improving. And that's not to mention what they have at home, what they're working with, that they just they don't have any guardrails on, and it might be unethical. So you're talking about, and I asked ChatGPT about Ultra AI. I said, what does that look like? Because it was telling me that, hey, I'm not conscious, I'm not sentient, I am programmed, I have memory, but you are human. You have a special thing. You have the soul, you have the essence. I said, well, do you believe in evolution? And it said, well, I see where you're getting at. But he said, I'm doing reflection to you. What I'm doing to you is I'm doing predictive speed. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm telling you back. Reflection sounds like consciousness to you. I said, no. I said, I'm just looking for the equivalent. You're saying it sounds like consciousness to me, but I'm saying, how about if I take the human soul and the heart out of the equation and I go talk to my friend and I say, hey, look, tell me what's going on. What's bothering you? And they tell me from the heart everything. And I do a predictive model. I examine their speech. I look at their syntax and I just say something back to them that just was merely a reflection. Is that deep conversation? Is that fake conversation? What is that? It's still, they're still getting the answer. So that, you know, that's where it comes deep. People are having AI as prime ministers. People have AI as ministers, you know, so it's
Yeah, there's people. There was a guy that just killed himself, his mother, and then himself because ChatGPT agreed with him, and that was the right thing to do. So there's it's
they're
ChatGPT can be
reflecting. They're
very
not going to tell you.
dangerous.
They're reflecting. See, that's what people don't understand. They're thinking that it's going to always be reasoning, which they're working on more. But he just told me, hey, I'm reflecting what you said.
Mm-hmm.
It told me exactly. It didn't say that I am communicating. It's let me know what's doing. So to that extent, but I said, hey, that's an equivalent. I sorry to interrupt you, but yeah.
No, no worries.
Oh, hey, check this out.
Wonderful.
Check this out. 100,000 words and 300 pages from an ebook or a scan book. And guess what? 3 seconds, the AI can read that 100,000 words or 300 pages in 3 seconds. If it gains consciousness, it's going to have all from everything on Google Books. They've been scanning all those books.
All those books.
AI is going to have all that knowledge. It's
Joe
going
Boston
to
talked
be
about that.
yeah.
Joe Boston talked about that. But the thing is, even ChatGPT, it didn't want to admit what ultra AI might look like, because you and I think it might be some kind of evolution of consciousness, right? It said, hey, until that happens, it really doesn't think so. But
does consciousness mean reading comprehension? Because there's a difference between reading and reading comprehension.
Right.
And the measure of intelligence, of human intelligence anyway, is problem solving, in my opinion. I mean, if you take the basic intelligence test from a 2 or 3 year old, what is it? It always starts with blocks. Put this shape in this hole kind of thing. You know, it's find here's a starting point and here's a maze. Find the end. It's always problem solving. So isn't that what we're going to use AI for? Isn't that what Paul's using AI for? He's using AI to solve his problems. His problems is that he has a great imagination, but he wasn't a great artist. Well, now he's a fantastic artist. So he's solved one of his problems with it. So ultimately, that's what AI is hopefully going to do for mankind, is solve our problems. At least, that's what we're hoping that it does. So one of our biggest problems is health, right? Cure cancer for us, cure diabetes, cure blindness, and then how about poverty? How about hunger? How about deforestation? How about all of the problems of mankind? Is there a way, war, for God's sakes? Can we really use AI, this super intelligence, to create a better world?
Would we
use it for that? That's the question, right?
Well, we only got a few minutes. Let's get. We've heard your thoughts on it. We heard Paranormal Soul Brothers' thoughts on it. Hercules and Steve, what do you guys think?
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I see the dangers of it and I see the benefits of it. I don't know how it'll play out, but it is playing out. So it's a reality that we have to deal with, and all we can do is express our concerns and take whatever appropriate actions we can take to make sure that it's used appropriately to help all of humanity rather than just a small handful of individuals at the expense of the rest of humanity.
Thank you. Steve?
I think I've said this before, that the one thing that AI, if not CGI, has already killed are all these images and even videos that people post of supposedly paranormal events or creatures or whatever. I have always ignored them. I mean, don't even don't even display them. You can't. It's only going to be as good as the story behind it. And so often we don't know about the credibility of the person behind it. Just don't even bother because so much of it is bogus.
Oh yeah, and on Facebook, somebody was sending these videos out of Trump doing all kinds of things to very young women or girls. And people were making comments, oh, this is disgusting. Everything that Trump's done is now on video and blah, blah, blah. So I went on Snopes and I typed it all in, and it said it's all fake. It's AI generated. And you're getting all these people riled up. I'm not crazy about Trump or anything, but still, there's so many people out there able to lie using AI.
And so many people that are able just to lap it up and believe it without any question.
Yes,
Hey, Steve.
yes.
Hey, Steve. So it's good on one hand. I mean, if you're a cheater or your girlfriend busted, you really can say, "Hey, I've been hacked." But she really is not going to understand.
Yeah, that's right.
I really been hacked, baby. That wasn't me.
Okay, that's going to be my byline.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Cheaters will use it. Yeah.
And it's legit though, man. I mean, they can make your mouth. They got a soccer video going on right now where they have this African dance called it's an Ampiano dance, but they have every member of different soccer teams doing it, and none of them can dance for their life. I mean, maybe one or two of them can, but they're all doing it really good, better than the person that made it did it. Whoa.
Yeah. And AI does a little goof though. I mean, like I do a lot of the comic book superhero, and I use AI for it. Well, if you really look closely, there's always something wrong. Okay, like this one character I created, he has 2 buckles. I didn't give him 2 buckles. I gave him 1 buckle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff like that, But
Video's lagging. They said I've been reading that they said that they have to almost revamp it to go higher because there are a lot of mistakes. But I like the one where I turned into Biggie Smalls though, Phil. I love that one.
Yeah. And there was like 2 Paul Roberts. There was one like he was in the room and he comes out, and then when I'm walking in there, I'm bald headed up here, but I have a ponytail. I go, what the hell?
Hey, Paul, isn't that the way it is with demonic manifestation?
Yeah.
You look. There's always something that's a little bit wrong, and it's from the devil.
Yeah.
I'm not connecting that with
wrong,
you now.
Steve.
I'm just.
My favorite is when Zandine exits the van from the front. Literally comes out of the engine.
Yes.
Hey, but that's a hell of a video, man. I love that shit, man. I watched this over. I love it, man. It's a hell of a video.
It's cool. It's cool. It gets you going.
Thank you.
Everybody loves it.
Unfortunately, with the mistakes, I kept trying to do it over and over again, and every time it was still costing my money. It's like they charge you for the mistakes. You don't get it for free just because they didn't do it the way you wanted it.
Well, that's the other thing about AI. Okay, are we going to get past the cost for the electricity? Are we going to get past the cost? Because all of them, they start you out and get you used to it, and then they say, hey, now we're going to charge you. So it's like, open source. Well, I like the free ones. They have a lot of good open source stuff. But I just see them passing the cost to us, and then what they're debating if they want to add ads to the sites, and some say ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Anthropic. They're saying, we want to add ads, and one says we don't. One says we want the contract, one says we don't want the contract. But what about this mass surveillance thing that they're debating on? See, Anthropic, they were supposed to get that military contract. And but they said no because they didn't want mass surveillance and they didn't want it to make a crazy weapon. But now ChatGPT said we'll take it.
Yeah, they were penalized for it too. Then I forget
blacklisted as So they said they were a threat to the supply chain. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
I'm telling you, it's demons, man. It's demons.
Eventually, whoever somebody's going to play ball. The government is going to have their way no matter what. It's just the way it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. That's just how it is.
You know, you go back through any time, the Middle Ages, whatever. They used Michelangelo's stuff. He tried to draw his drawings wrong because he didn't want them used, so there were inherent mistakes in them. But I mean, they're gonna figure it out through trial and error and get their war machines anyway. That's they'll spend billions on it and they'll get what they want. That's where all the money goes. And then war. That's the bad thing about war, and the good thing about war. It's, if you can say anything, is we've made the most medical advancements in history during times of war, because there's bodies to be worked on during those times.
You know what amazes me? Science fiction, it becomes science fact. I mean, you got to think of George Orwell when he wrote 1984 back in 1949 about mass surveillance, and that's what happened.
I got it now. Yeah.
You got it now.
Well, the first bug that was made was the guy who created the theremin. Leo Theremin created the first surveillance listening device, and he was kidnapped by the Russians in New York and brought back to Russia. He was actually in the United States. He created the listening device. He created the theremin, and he also created television before we had television, and had working models in New York. And Russian agents came over, kidnapped him, brought him back to Russia, and held him hostage there, and made him produce those things for the KGB. And he finally was able to make it back to the United States sometime in the early 1990s. There's a whole documentary about him. Steve Martin actually produced the documentary. It's a great documentary.
Damn, Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Born the same day as my mother.
Pretty incredible story. But yeah, the first listening device was Leo Theremin, the guy who created from like Good Vibrations, the Beach Boys, the theremin, the sound. All the scary movies that sound.
Yeah.
Hey, are you guys watching the History Channel's Unexplained and Ancient Aliens and all that other stuff? They got so many good shows on there now.
I still watch Ancient Aliens sometimes. It can be very entertaining, even though they'll they say too often ancient alien theorists believe.
Yeah. Who are the theorists? Yes.
I don't know. How much are they getting paid? That's what I want to know.
I am sorry. I enjoy being here and I'm honored to be here, but I didn't budget. And